They keep telling you the same bedtime story.
The dollar is unshakable. America is fine. Nothing can replace it.
And technically, in the short term, they are right. But here is the part they do not say out loud. De-dollarization is not one big moment where the dollar dies on live TV. It is not an apocalypse. It is a slow, strategic exit. It is quiet decisions by central banks. It is trade contracts rewritten in the dark. It is gold stacked in vaults instead of US Treasuries. And in 2025, that matters more than most people realize. Because when the world starts building exits, it means one thing. Trust is leaking. Not collapsing. Leaking. And leaks do not look dramatic until the floor suddenly gives way. Let's break down what is real, what is hype, and what this actually means for your bank account. First, the truth that both sides conveniently ignore.
The dollar is still the king.
If you look at the raw data for global payments, the dollar has not been kicked out. In fact, the United Nations trade body, UNCTAD, shows that the dollar's share of global SWIFT payments actually rose to nearly 50% recently. So if someone tells you the world stopped using dollars yesterday, they are selling you fear. But here is the second truth. Dominance is not the same as safety. A currency can remain dominant in payments while it becomes toxic as a store of wealth. And that is exactly what is happening right now. You have to understand the difference between the flow and the stash. The flow is what you use to buy a coffee or a barrel of oil. That is still the dollar. But the stash, what nations keep their life savings in, is changing rapidly. According to the IMF, the dollar's share in global foreign exchange reserves has been gradually declining. Where is that money going? It isn't just going into the euro or the yen. It is going into the only asset that has no counterparty risk: gold. The People's Bank of China has been on a historic buying spree. For years, their gold holdings were flat. Then, suddenly, the chart moved. Why? Because of one specific moment that changed financial history forever. In 2022, the US and its allies froze over $300 billion of Russia's foreign reserves. Regardless of your politics, that sent a shockwave through every central bank on Earth. The message was, if your reserves are held in the dollar system, they are not your reserves. They are a subscription. And the US government can cancel that subscription with a mouse click. So nations, especially those in the global south or BRICS, updated their risk models overnight. They realized that reserves are only reserves if you can actually use them in a crisis. And that single realization started the silent exit. This is where the story gets deeper than just buying gold. China isn't just hoarding bars. They are building a new operating system for money. It is called the Gold Corridor. Think of this as a parallel network of vaults, from Shanghai to Hong Kong, extending into BRICS nations. This system solves the biggest problem with the yuan. Nobody trusts the yuan because of capital controls. But if you link the currency to a localized, physical gold network, suddenly you have a mechanism for trust. It allows countries to settle trade deficits, not in paper promises, but in hard assets. And there was a massive legal change that nobody talked about. It's called Basel III. Previously, banks considered gold a Tier 3 asset. It was risky, it was heavy, it was discounted on the balance sheet. But recently, gold was reclassified as a Tier 1 asset. That means it is now legally as good as cash for banks. Why does that matter? Because the next step is making gold a high-quality liquid asset, or HQLA. If gold becomes HQLA, countries can use it as collateral for loans and repo markets without touching the dollar. This is the financial plumbing that lets the world bypass New York. It's not a theory, it's infrastructure, and it is being built right now. This economic shift is mirroring a geopolitical fracture. We are seeing the rise of what economists like Branko Milanovic call the political West. It's not just geography, it's a bloc. The US, UK, Europe, Japan, Australia. They share a financial system, a military alliance, and a currency reliance. But the rest of the world, the global South, led by the expanding BRICS alliance, is moving differently. They are not trying to destroy the dollar. They are trying to insulate themselves from it.
We are moving toward a multipolar financial world.
In this world, the dollar is still a big player, but it is no longer the only player. Kenneth Rogoff, a mainstream Harvard economist, calls this the biggest inflection point in the global currency system since the Nixon shock of 1971. When Harvard economists and BRICS leaders agree that the system is breaking, you should probably listen. So, why should you care? You aren't a central bank. You aren't trading oil. Here is the scary part for the individual. The lie they tell the middle class is, the system is stable, so you are safe inside it. But history shows us that when a dominant currency loses its monopoly, the government doesn't just say, oh well. They tighten the screws. As global demand for US debt drops, the cost of that debt rises. The government has two choices: default, which they won't do, or financial repression. This means trapping capital inside the system to pay for the debt. How does that look for you? It looks like sticky inflation. It looks like negative real yields, where your savings account pays 4%, but inflation is 6%. It looks like friction, delays in moving your money, temporary, limits on withdrawals. This is the wealth transfer mechanism. While the billionaires and the corporations front-run the inflation by owning assets, the middle class gets trapped in the currency that is being debased to keep the system afloat. The rich get richer because they own the exits. The poor get poorer because they are trapped in the building. I'm not telling you this to make you panic. I'm telling you this so you can position yourself. De-dollarization is a process, not an event. Here is your survival guide for the slow exit. 1. Stop thinking in absolutes. The dollar doesn't have to hit zero for you to lose purchasing power. It just has to lose trust. 2. Kill the single point of failure. If everything you have is in one bank, one country, one currency, your risk is concentrated. You need redundancy. 3. Watch the real money. Central banks are buying gold for a reason. They want an asset that is not someone else's liability. You don't need to be a billionaire to learn from them. Whether it is physical assets, land, or self-custody crypto, own things that don't rely on a politician's promise. 4. Adaptability. The biggest hedge against a failing currency is your ability to generate value outside of it. The world is building lifeboats. The dollar is still the anchor, but the chain is rusting. You don't wait until the water is at your ankles to check the exits. You check them now. In the next video, I'm going to break down the trigger events, the specific signals in the bond market and the banking sector that will tell you when the slow exit is about to become a sudden freeze. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Stop listening to the story. Watch the money.